Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Eileen, for having me today.
Great to have you back on the program. First of all, let's touch base in regards to the political crisis in Myanmar, as well as China, which has triggered aggressiveness and overshadowed the summit somewhat. What can ASEAN do regarding the conflict resolution in Myanmar, and how can China play a role in resolving this crisis?
When it comes to Myanmar, we've got to be really honest with the situations. The reality check suggests to us there is no positive developments since the five-point consensus has been introduced in 2021. And I think the statement of Indonesian foreign minister that says regardless of who is actually the leader of ASEAN, the problems and issues on Myanmar remains of a status quo because it's a very complex and complicated. Although I must say and share with both of you today, there are some side talks and engagement projects with the stakeholders to the issue. The ASEAN has been approaching not only ASEAN as a region, but we have seen Indonesia and Thailand have been approaching stakeholders, the strategic stakeholders in Myanmar that includes the junta, the side government, the minority ethnics, and so on. And I think the process of trust building is going on regardless. We've seen a halt or a pause to the five-point consensus. On the questions of China's involvement, we see that China is not having any interest to involve and to interfere into the Myanmar conflict. And I think this decision has two positive consequences that we all have to bear. The first one, it suggests the consistency of the Chinese foreign policy not to interfere and to intervene into matters of other countries and only focusing on itself. And this has been consistent throughout the way. The second positive consequences, it gives more rooms for ASEAN centrality to actually develop and to prosper. Since ASEAN centrality has been developed, every single issues and challenges intra and inter-ASEAN has been coordinated to the ASEAN-led mechanism. And we will have to allow this mechanism to prosper and to play its role. Definitely, because of this, there are two consecutive developments why China does not want to interfere and involve in the Myanmar issue.
Okay, to another complex and sensitive issue, Brunei Darussalam, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam have long been involved in territorial conflicts with China and Taiwan over the past few decades. What is the response from the ASEAN member states to the new mapping by China, and what implications are we expecting from this new map?
Well, we have seen protest statements over and over again by official member countries, especially the claimant countries of the South China Sea that involve Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines. But the status quo remains the same, that China is introducing the map. And what will happen at the 43rd ASEAN Summits today will hopefully gives us a new insights and a new idea how's the conversation is going to be between the Premier of China and Indonesian President as representative of ASEAN. But I must also share with you, there are developments on establishing bilateral talks when it comes to the South China Sea interests within ASEAN itself. We have seen how Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia has been establishing bilateral talks between these three countries when it comes to maritime securities and the Blue Ocean strategies. And we should also not forget on the Health Silk Road as a terms of COVID diplomacy by China is to also establish bilateral relationships between countries in Southeast Asia, and I'm confident that the issue of South China Sea and maritime border and security is also been discussed bilaterally. So again, the conclusion to this question is that we have seen multilateral organizations has been weakened and has been given less attention relations when it comes to South China Sea, and we are seeing more trends and developments of bilateral relations and conversations between the claimant parties or any parties involved when it comes to the issue of South China Sea. So the sensitivity is controlled and monitored by these two countries alone.
Right, Zokhri. So the ASEAN-China summit will also highlight tensions in the Indo-Pacific, and Indonesia, in this case, continues to voice three key principles of the ASEAN outlook on Indo-Pacific, namely their ASEAN centrality, inclusivity, excuse me, and complementarity. So what can you tell us in regards to this issue?
No doubt, as the chair of ASEAN in 2024, Indonesia feels the pressure to bring up ASEAN centrality to the world and making sure that ASEAN centrality receives lots of attentions to the world today. And what we are seeing on ASEAN centrality is that while it is a regional effort, we really need to measure the level of acceptance and implementation of its 10 member countries. No doubt we have the AOIP, the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, but I don't see more of the ASEAN countries have developed on this specific Indo-Pacific strategy. Now, my conversations with some of the officials are saying, well, we do not have to have a specific country Indo-Pacific strategy because we have ASEAN as a regional outlook, but the setback is to what extent that each of these 10 member countries observes, implements, as well as executes the AOIP. So this needs to have more clarifications because that the outlook is there. Indonesia as a chair has already projected, but what is lacking and what is under vacuum is the acceptance and implementations of the deliverables by all of the 10 member countries in ASEAN.
Yes, Zokhri. So Indonesia chairmanship in the 43rd ASEAN Summit has four main pillars. That is to uphold the long-term vision of the ASEAN region, strengthen ASEAN's resilience in facing the challenges, make ASEAN as the epicentrum of economic growth, and maintain peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region. Do we see reforms, or does the status quo remain?
We've seen that the status quo in terms of political security and the structure of ASEAN remains. But we see there are changes and reforms in terms of economic integrations and financial integration, as what Deputy Foreign Minister Pahala Mansuri have said, that the Asia Indo-Pacific Forum will be an annual talk to discuss further on the opportunities on business. But we must also not forget the accession planning of Timor-Leste into ASEAN. If that happens within the year or next, we will see that ASEAN has gone into a tremendous reform by allowing a new country and a new entity to join the roadmap. And what we can see on the news and the development, that we are pushing the roadmap for a full accession of Timor-Leste into ASEAN by this year. And certainly, I think it will change and it will give more improvement to the dynamics of ASEAN these days. So that's possibly the biggest reform that we can identify for this year round.
Indeed, and we'll definitely look forward to the latest updates in regards to that. Zokhri, thank you so much for your time and for joining us all the way from Malaysia this fine morning. We hope the air clears up a little bit more for you over there, as we are over here as well.
Yes, indeed. We do hope so.
Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
That was Zokhri Idris joining us, obviously giving us his insight in regards to the happenings at the 43rd ASEAN Summit here in Jakarta. We will now take another short break, but when we return, we will bring the latest from Southeast Asia and around the world. So stay with us here on the C Morning Show. We'll be right back after this.